So, my friends, we're going to start. You don't need the book, although it's going to help. We're going to be using the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch as our kind of our anchor and our beginning point, but in no way are we going to be reading the text or limiting ourselves to what it says there. This is the reason I'm sitting down. This is much more of an intimate environment on purpose, deliberately. This is much more of a interactive learning experience. So this is not about me giving a sophisticated lecture. This is about us collectively learning, growing, internalizing the information, questioning, discussing specific details that normally in the class, if you'd ask me about how do I do it in this case and what about in this situation, I said they come to me afterwards. Here's the opportunity. We're in this together. Obviously, some of us are in different levels of religious observance. Some of us have done this for many years. Some of us are new to this. We're all at our own place, myself included, in our own journey of growth and of learning. And so we're all going to learn more, myself included, going to learn more from this. And hopefully we're all going to take some of what we learn to internalize, to bring into action, to try and utilize in our own lives. Okay, we are going to use the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch only because I need some kind of text to be based off of. Otherwise it's like, we're all over the place and then you forget important things. And so we're going to more or less follow, but I'm going to skip some stuff. I'm going to spend time on, it's just a foundation to give us a structure. Really, you should be reading the chapters in advance. I'm not recording in a second. 1 second. Really, you should be reading the chapters in advance to get a chance to do the homework and to come into the class prepared. Okay, so now we're going to begin with chapter 136, which is obviously the middle of the book. But the holidays are coming. The Chagim are starting. So I want to start with the Lulav and the Esrog because first of all, you need to order a Lulav and Esrog in advance. You can't wait till, even though you guys are all blessed to have me worry about it, and you can come here 2 days in advance to get a Lulav and Esrog, but they have to be ordered in advance. And if you go to big Jewish communities already a few weeks before, they start selling it and preparing, etc., especially when they get a good one, beginning of the season when there's still good stuff available. Secondly, I want to start with this because I want to give the details of the holidays of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, the much more specific, how to, when to, etc., closer so you don't forget. So we're going to do a little bit next week. This week, we'll do the building of a sukkah and the laws of a sukkah next week, and then we'll go through all the laws of Rosh Hashanah in detail. The next week, all the laws of Yom Kippur and all the laws of Sukkot and the holiday and etc. So, Chapter 136 begins by telling us that it's an established Jewish custom that if a person does not know the details of the laws of a Lulav and Esrog, they should go buy from a reliable source, go to your rabbi and say, is this kosher? Today you don't need to do that because today you only buy a Lulav and Esrog hopefully from a reputable source where you know that you're getting something that's kosher. Although, unfortunately, like anything where there's a business and there's money to be made, not always everything at the standard that you think it is. That's partly because people sometimes cut corners. It's also because if you're getting the cheaper end of the deal, there's such a large quantity of whatever it is that's being sold, that unless you're getting a higher end, more specially rated Esrog or Lulav, or Hadassim we'll talk about, which is where one of the bigger issues are, there may be things that are kosher. I'm not saying anything is not kosher, but we say b'diavad. B'diavad means, yeah, okay, if you used it, it's kosher. You don't need to do the mitzvah again. But if you want to do something beautiful, then you should spend a little more, get a better quality one, and do something a little bit better. On that, I specifically want to point out that regarding the Lulav and the Esrog, we know the custom is people spend a fortune on buying a beautiful Lulav and Esrog. You have people who spend hundreds of dollars, literally hundreds of dollars. A decent good Esrog is going for starting at $150, $200, $300 for a good set. Why is that? So the Torah clearly tells us that the Esrog has to be a beautiful fruit. The words of the Torah when it describes the Esrog is a pre-eitz hadar. What does hadar mean? The fruit of a tree that's beautiful. So the Torah is telling us they should make it beautiful. Now we know that in general, every mitzvah you do, you should try to make it beautiful. So when you buy, for example, a pair of tefillin or mezuzah, you could buy the cheapest, standard, or you can spend much more and get something much more beautiful. because you make the mitzvah more beautiful. And so too, when it comes to any mitzvah, we try and enhance it and upgrade it. But specifically when it comes to the mitzvah of the Lulav and the Esrog, the Torah explicitly writes regarding this mitzvah that it should be a beautiful fruit, and therefore people are very careful, even if they're not so careful, to make sure they have the best quality mezuzah or whatever. Comes to the Lulav and the Esrog, they're very careful to spend the money, to have the best quality, the most beautiful of the four species, because the Torah clearly writes that regarding the four species. Now, one more introduction, I think it's going to be later on, is that you have to make sure you actually legally own your Lulav and Esrog. Yeah. Yeah.
That a Lulav could be owned by a group if they all contribute.
They all contribute, yes. As opposed to, excellent, and you can have a group, it's going to talk about it later, right? I just don't want to forget it. So you can have a group own a Lulav and the Esrog, where they all have ownership. What you can't have is you using my Lulav and Esrog. The Torah says, "Ulakachtem lachem, bayom harishon pri etzader." You should take to yourself, lachem means to you, on the first day of the holiday, a beautiful Esrog, a beautiful fruit, the date of a palm, etc. Here the Torah is clearly telling us that the Lulav and the Esrog needs to be lachem, which means to you. You have to own it. Now, normally, let's say you don't have a talis. You come to the synagogue, I give you my talis. You can do the mitzvah. There's no obligation that you have to own the talis. You have to own the matzah. By the Lulav and Esrog, the Torah clearly tells you it needs to be yours. It needs to be yours. So therefore, you have to own your own. Now, if you have a group of people together, they each have part ownership, that's fine. But otherwise, if you don't own your own Lulav and Esrog, you have to acquire it from someone, which means that let's say you're using mine, I would give it to you as a gift with the condition that you're going to return it. In halakha, it's called a matana amanas lahachzor, a gift on condition you're going to return the gift. So at the moment they give it to you, now it's yours. You own it. But your ownership is contingent on that afterwards you're going to gift it back to me. But ideally for the first day of the Chag, you should actually own your own. You should buy your own or maybe pay to own it, and then it's yours, and you really own it, and it's yours. Okay, which also makes a problem with kids. You can't give your little vessel to a kid, but let's not get too distracted just yet. Anyway, so the point is the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch that we're using, which was written by Rosh Shlomo Gansfried, we were talking about before the class started, was written by a very great rabbi in Poland, meant to be a simple guy without getting into all the tremendous details of all the specifics and all that. So there's laws and laws and laws on what makes a Lulav kosher and an Esrog kosher and all that. Here he's just saying, he's going to say very, very basic details, and go ask your rabbi, make sure it's kosher. I want to do a little bit more than they does over here, and we're going to go through them a little bit more in detail to understand what makes a kosher Lulav, a kosher Esrog, etc. So let's start with the Lulav. I do have here, I pulled out all of last year's Lulavs. Now there's like a big mess in this box, but you could see it. They're dried out. This would not be a kosher lulav for this year, and it says that explicitly. You need to buy a new lulav every year because a lulav does not really survive like anything. This was a branch, it was growing on a palm tree, and now it got cut off. So how long can it survive after you cut it from the palm tree? Eventually, it's going to die out and wither. But the few important things you know over here. Number one is that it has to be green, and if like this lulav, it's lost its green, this has become white and dried out, it's no longer kosher. In addition, you have to have the middle leaf has to be complete. Hello, Marsha, how are you? So it has to be at least 4 tfachim, which is basically about 32 centimeters. Is about different opinion, but about 32 centimeters total. From well, the whole lulav, starting from where the leaves come out. Now, in this lulav, on the very bottom, if you can see, there's already, and I'm going to open this up, there's already leaves coming out. So every lulav, and that's why I'm going to use this because I can break it apart. A lulav, when you normally see a lulav, right, it looks like one closed green branch. But actually, a lulav is not that. I'm going to make a mess. A lulav is branch. It's a palm. And like a palm that opens up, I'm making a mess all over myself. Big mess. But it opens up and there's leaves. Okay? And I wanted to show you that each leaf is actually made of two parts. Let me just, so let's just pull off one of these leaves, okay? Just pulled off one of the leaves. And now I'm going to open it. If you can see, we just came very easily. It's actually two. It's double. Every leaf is actually two leaves. It's called a twin, a tiyomis in Hebrew. Every leaf is going to be like that. That's the way a proper, unless something is, I shouldn't say every. There's always the exception to the rule. But again, every single leaf, you can pick any one, whatever it is. Yeah, let's pick one. You see like that? It's one leaf. It looks like one leaf. At the top, look, I just put my nail in there, and now it became two. If you hear it, like you hear it splitting and cracking open, you can literally hear how I pulled it open. Why is it so important? They have to be closed, but especially the middle one. So if we follow the spine of the lulav, the middle is the spine, okay? If you can see, we can pass them around if you want to see it, but let me just show you after. You're following the spine. You see the spine? It's the middle. All the branches are coming out of the spine. As you go up, it's going to get narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower. We're going to continue following it. Here's the middle, right over here. And normally in the regular lulav, you don't do this because you don't want to make it not kosher by pulling it apart. You got to use your eye. But here we're going to actually pull it apart. So here's our middle leaf, right over here in the very middle. Now it looks like two, but it's actually one because it's already splitting. The middle can split, and that can make it not kosher if it splits too much. We'll get to that in a second. This, if you look in the very middle, is the tallest branch. Tallest leaf. You see that? Tallest one. Now, it's actually two. If you hear it? You hear it splitting? I'm splitting it. It should not split. Now, it was already a little bit split when I started. It was already a little bit split, which is why it almost looked like there was two, but it was really one leaf. Ideal. It's one leaf. Every leaf is two.
It's one leaf.
Twins. It's twins. So it's one leaf, correct. It's one leaf that on one side, like if you stick my nail in, and I'll show this process around. I don't want to like spend the whole, if I get too distracted for the whole hour just on this. But you stick your nail, you can open it. And like you open it, and then you can pull it apart like into two. So there's a bunch of conditions to make it a kosher lulav. I got 30. But ideally, I'll get to that question. It's a good question. Let me just finish this point. So ideally, in a good kosher lulav, the middle is completely sealed. It should be completely sealed. The middle shouldn't open at all. If the middle opens, ideally, l'chatchila, that is not a good lulav. But if you use it, then it's kosher. Okay, like that. Now, not to your question, what kind of palm tree does this come from? It has to be ideally a date palm tree. A kapot tmarim is the Hebrew, so it has to be not like a coconut palm tree, but a date palm tree. A male date palm tree that does not give dates is kosher for a lulav. It doesn't have to be a female tree. There's a debate about a canary palm, if that's considered a kapot tmarim, that they can use it or not. There's a way of seeing where the leaves grow closer together in the spine, but so it has to be a date palm. But if you have a date palm tree growing in your backyard, and you're sure it's kosher, then yeah, you can cut it, and that will be your lulav. Okay? Any questions? Let's see what it says. We have to talk about the twins. I printed out like a very detailed list, but it would be too much. Now, a few things. The top cannot be bent. To be a kosher lulav, the top, this one's already all destroyed a little bit. We can come a little more closer together. And here's another one. Again, you can see like how it's all open. The middle, let's follow the middle leaf. You're following the spine, all the way up to the top. Here is the middle one, right over here. Okay, now, you'll notice, it's hard for you guys to see it. The middle's a little bit like bent. That's kosher, it's fine. As long as it's closed, as long as it's not cut. The top has to be a proper top. If the top is cut, that's again a problem with the lulav. I'm talking only lechatchila, meaning there's many things I'm going to say now that maybe after the fact will be okay. But I'm telling you, when you're looking for a kosher lulav, it should be totally sealed. The more straight the top is, the better. Obviously, you want it closed. You want it tight because you don't want it separating. And you want the spine to be straight. So when you look at it, if it's crooked, it's not ideal, it's not beautiful. We want it to be a beautiful thing. So the way to check it is you put it like towards your eye, and you follow with your eye the line of the spine. And you're going to look at it, and you're going to see the spine straight, or like in this one where it starts turning that way, it starts turning all over. Okay? I think that covers the most important things of the lulav. There's much, much more details, and it says you can come ask a rabbi if something happens to yours, if it splits, if the sides are splitting, that's fine. If the middle splits, if it's a little bit, it's going to be fine. It's not ideal. If it's more than half, it's not kosher. Top gets bent or broken, which is also the problem if you go into the car. Some people are not careful in the sukkah. And they're shaking a little bit in the sukkah, and they're going up, down, over. And first of all, when you shake it like that, you don't have to hear. It's not a grogger. You don't have to hear the lulav being shaken. It's not a grogger. But besides for that, shaking it breaks everything open, including the middle leaf. The first one to separate will be the middle. It's the highest one, so it gets the most. But if you hit it, that can bend it, and that can make or break it. And if it breaks, that's not going to be kosher anymore. You got to be careful of the point of your lulav. Now, next we're going to talk about the myrtle, the hadas, which is the myrtle branch. So here we have the hadas, it's beautiful, it smells. Why is it called a hadas? It's really in the Torah it describes it as like a rope that's mishulash that comes in the pairs of 3. Now, I don't know if you can see it so well. Let me just making a mess. If you can see, I just cut it right at the end. Oh, perfect. You can see all 3 leaves were coming out of the same spot. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it So if you take totally breaking apart my hand. These are from last year. But if you were to look at where the leaves are coming from, so let's just look at this. Here, there you go. If you look, I took some away so you can see this row. All 3 leaves are coming out of the exact same spot of the hadas. Do you see that? So there's 1, 2, 3 leaves, all coming out of the same spot. And the leaves are covering the spot where the leaves above it come from, like a rope to twist. So if I was to take away this leaf, and this leaf, and this leaf, now you're going to see the hadassim on top of it. Understand? And so here again you have 1, 2, 3, and these are covering the bottom of the leaves on top of it. You take it away, there's the leaves on top. So it's covered. So when you look at the hadas, you only see the leaves, you don't see its stem, so to say, or how it's connected to the stem. But in a kosher, in a good quality hadas, the entire thing from the bottom till the top will all be through the same spot. Now it happens to be that I'm looking at the bottom of this one, and on the bottom is actually not all coming from the same spot. If you can see very carefully, this one is a little lower than that one, and there's only 2. If you look at this one, 1, 2, there's only 2 over there. There's not 3.
Well, it could have fallen off.
No, you can even see the spot on the spine. This is kosher because the main thing is the top of it, and it's all covered. There's leaves covering the whole way, but this is not a top quality hadas. A top quality hadas, which is going to be more expensive, you have to pay more for it, is going to have 3 leaves the entire way, all the way up. Okay? And a big mess up. The reasons for what? That's an excellent question. First of all, this is what God told us. It's in the Torah, that's what God said. There's, of course, spiritual significance and spiritual lessons to all these things and what they represent in the different parts of our body and the different kinds of Jews. Each part of the lulav represents the spine of the person. This is the eyes, the willow is the lips, the esrog is the heart. There's many, many different teachings and lessons, but that's not what we're going to focus on for tonight's class. Okay? So here we have the hadassim. It's hard that they have the leaves to cover. Each one should reach to the bottom cover the bottom of the ones above it. You have to also be careful that they're not grafted. To get a kosher hadas, you need a certification and to know that it came from a reliable source, that it's an authentic myrtle branch. Grafted, they would make it. They form off trees. They graft like a hadas into another tree to make it grow bigger, more, whatever. I don't know all the details how they would graft it, but it can't be grafted. It can't be grown in a pot, it has to come from the ground. So you grow it in a greenhouse or something, or in potted plants. It wouldn't be kosher. Again, there's many details how to make sure that it's kosher. This is I'm going back to the lulav. One thing I want to say, but the lulav, I have my notes. This is important. The lulav has to be what color? Green. In a good lulav, you're going to see this. This I just pulled off is brown. This is what called using moich. It's like the protective cover of the lulav. This actually what keeps it the most fresh. When you have this on the back of the lulav, what's on the back of the lulav, this actually keeps it fresh and moist. It keeps the moisture inside. So when you're getting a good quality lulav, actually, the front side, which is where the spine is going to be green. But the back side, which is this side, is going to actually be covered with the brown cover. It means that it's very fresh. Now, obviously, if the brown falls off, it's still kosher. You don't need that, but that's a sign of a freshness that it still has. And here you still see some of that brown is still staying even after a year. It still has that, the brown's ride with it. But that's a good thing. Okay. But otherwise, they can't be dried out. They have to be fine. Next is you have to be careful that the leaves don't fall off of the hadas. If the leaves fall off, if you have a hadas that becomes, like this, not kosher anymore. The majority of the stem needs to be covered by leaves in order for it to be kosher. So if one falls off, it's fine. But if you're able to see the stem like this would no longer be, even though you still have leaves here, it's no longer kosher. Okay? Another thing, the top cannot be broken. Let's say you have this myrtle branch, has to be 3 handbreadths. 1, 2, 3. It's tall enough. But let's say someone broke off the top. Even though whatever is left is covered in leaves, it's not kosher anymore. The top, and you can see the top will get small, kind of like crowned on the top. You can see where it's at the top or if it's cut. No kosher hadas or arava will be cut on the top. All you see on the top is the leaves, not cut. It's cut, it's not kosher. Okay, clear? Next we come to the arava, which is the willow branch. These are going to be the long, smooth leaves. There are willows that are ridged. The leaves have a ridge to them. That's not a kosher arava. It has to be arvei nachal, which grows by the riverbanks. It doesn't have to grow by the riverbanks. I actually know someone in Coral Springs who was growing aravas, because willows will grow wherever you have moisture, but they have to be the kind that come from the river, which are ones that are smooth. So these, if you can see them, are smooth along like a mouth. They are not. There's no ridge. There's no. It's a smooth leaf. Got that? Okay. So it has to be smooth. 1 second. I went to my page. It has to be the same length as the hadas, which is 3 handbreadths. If it dried out, or if it lost the majority of its leaves, or if the top of the branch is cut off, it's not kosher. Now the question is, what about if it's dried out but the leaves are hanging on like this? It's a whole discussion in Jewish law. Ideally, it should be green leaves. But there are some that say that as long as they're leaves that are still attached, even if the leaves have become black, it's still kosher, but it's definitely not ideal. If the leaves fell off and you have no more leaves left, it's obviously not kosher. But some will say that b'diavad, as long as you have even just 2 leaves, unlike the hadas. The hadas, if it's like this, it's not kosher. By their rava, even if the majority of leaves fell off, as long as there's still some leaves on it, b'diavad, it will be okay, yes.
It said in the Kitzur that that they were red. Some of them are red.
Yeah.
Kosher if it's red, or is it preferable to use on the screen?
The preferable green. Preferable to you that they should be green. Okay. Now, willows are the most delicate. Now, here's on the shulchan. I'm just giving you practical advice. Okay. Willows are the hardest to keep fresh. They turn black very quickly. And as we just said a second ago, ideally you want them to be green. So you got to keep them moist. How do you do that? So you want to either put them into water, like a flower pot, or the better way, and this way you also could transport it, is you wrap them in like a silver foil and they go damp, very not too wet, paper towel or towel, like a hand towel. I use a hand towel. I grew up using paper silver foil and paper towels. They always were falling apart. Like I don't know, I find a hand towel much easier. But really, it can't be too wet. If it's too wet, you know what's going to happen?
Mold.
You're going to get mold on your aravas. I've seen it. I've seen people with mold growing on their Lulavim. It's disgusting. So you got to squeeze out. It should be damp, but it should not be dripping water everywhere. Because what will happen is it will get moldy. So a damp paper towel or a hand towel, and preferably keep it in a cool place. Don't leave it, in the sun and all that where it's going to get dried out. The aravas will get dry in 2 days. I'm telling you, I always buy extra aravas because there's never been a year when not at least one person came to their aravas weren't kosher anymore. There's been some times it was extras, but there were years when I was very happy that I got it because in the middle of Sukkot to go find someone like, or even for myself, people also when they start drying off, they fall off very quickly. The leaves. This is not a very hardy branch. It's not, it falls apart quickly. These are pretty hard, but I'm saying in general, if you look at some of the around here. This is, by the way, still in the package, okay? It never got used. I tell you, I buy extra. So it's never been taken out of the package. But if we take it out, look at this. It's not going to be a single leaf attached to this. I see there's no leaves attached. I can tell you right now. I can see that there's no leaves.
But it's still green.
This hasn't been taken out of the package. No, it's not green. It's like mold. But look at these. They're all completely... They felt like these, they're dried out, but they kept the leaves on them. These are nothing. They fall apart very quickly. So you got to treat them delicately and try and keep them moist. Yes. You could, so yes, when I go to buy all the 40, 50, the 11 Esrogim, I keep them in the fridge. But once you attach it to your Lulav, unless you have like a commercial fridge, you're not going to be able to get your Lulav into the fridge anymore. Yeah, and you can't bend it to put it in, you know what I'm saying? So once you attach, so before Sukkot, when you get it in the bag, yeah, you can keep the bag in the fridge. But once you actually attach it to your Lulav and Esrog, into your Lulav, then you can't. The other thing is, what? A good set, 100, 150, 150, you're already getting a good quality set. 200, 150 ready to set. Now, something else, just as a piece of advice, is to get something like this, which is a bag that holds the Lulav and the Esrog. So this, see, it keeps it from getting bent. The regular bag that it comes in, just like a plastic, does nothing to protect the bag, the Lulav, from being bent, which happens very easily into the car when it gets bent. And worse, it's very hard to put it back in. So many times I myself, in my earlier years, before I had all these bags, you're trying to put the Lulav back into the bag, and what happens? Like the bag is getting caught in the leaves. It's like pulling the leaves apart. It's messy. So it's hard. Okay. That's as far as the... What? Yeah, I got bags also. They're like $5 for a bag. $10 for a bag, maybe, I don't remember. I think $5 for the bags. I just get I just buy extra for the people order, and I'll have an order form up soon. I buy some extras of the cheaper ones, but if you want a better quality one, you should order in advance, because I don't buy extra good quality ones. I only order what's okay. Now, let's talk about binding them together. Did we talk about the Esrog? I didn't get to the Esrog. You missed the Esrog? Okay. Now, let's talk about how you put them together. Then with the Esrog. How do you put them together? I'm going in the order. How do you put them together? So, there's different customs. First of all, customs for everything, Sarah. Some people use this little guy. It's called the kachkalech, it's called in Yiddish. It's a Hebrew word for I don't even know what it is. Chabad doesn't use it. The idea is that you put the lulav in, hadassim on the right, aravas on the left, and that's it. Chabad does not use this. Ashkenazim do, because the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch writes the custom to put the hadassim on the right side, the aravas, the willow, on the left side, and the lulav in the middle. Let me just make sure it's very clear. When we say the right side and the left side, we mean the right side facing you when you're holding it the right way. You know, people hold the lulav the wrong way, probably 50% of people. So, which way is the right way to hold the lulav? The spine facing you or not facing you? Well, look at how bent this one is. The spine should be facing you. Okay, when you're holding the lulav, if you're opposite me, you're going to see the backside. I'm going to see the front of the lulav, which is the spine. This is the spine right here. So when we say on the right side, we mean the right side of the spine facing me. The left side of the lulav, the willows, is the left side facing me. So when I look at it on the right and the left. That is the Ashkenazi custom. That is what's written by Rabbi Shlomo Ganzfried in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Yeah, the lulav is in the middle. The lulav has to be taller also. There has to be a full handbreadth of lulav higher than the hadasim and araves. So standing up higher. There are 3 tvachim. This is 4 handbreadths. You have the hadasim on the right, and the willow, the arava, on the left.
Chabad follows the spine looking at you.
Well, the spine, yeah, the spine looking at you is the right way to hold it. That's not a custom. That's just the right way. There's only one right way to hold it, and that's with the spine facing you. That's across the board. I'm talking about now how you tie them together. Hadasim on the right, Arabis on the left. Chabad and many other Hasidic groups follow the custom of the Arizal. The Arizal writes that you should have, based on Kabbalah, that you should have 1 willow on the right, 1 willow on the left, 1 myrtle branch on the right, 1 on the left, and 1 in the middle. That's what the Arizal writes. Based on Chassid word Teferes, the idea of the spreading it apart. So the Chabad way is that you have the Hadassim actually cover the Arava. You don't want to see the Arava. And again, only for the reason now the rabbis in Judah has no mitzvah. So in the Chabad, it's not a Chabad, this is from the Arizal. So it's not a Chabad thing per se. I'll tell you what it's Chabad in a second. The Arizal writes, and many Hasidic groups and many Sfarad, I think even that follow the Arizal, do it this way where the lulav is in the middle, surrounded by a ring of Hadassim. The Chabad custom is to get even more Hadassim, more than 3, 6, 13. Some years the Rebbe got like 30 something, out of many Hadassim. The point is that it should be a full ring, totally like a crown, totally surrounding the lulav. On all sides you have Hadassim surrounding it, and at the Aravis is 1 on each side, and you don't even see them. Okay? This is a full service. I mean, it actually takes time. I don't like doing it, but of course, I help people. That's part of what I do for a living, right? I help people. And so, yes, anyone needs help putting it together, I'll do it. I'll show you how to do it. The other thing, since I'm going to give you a practical class here, is the Chabad custom is that when we tie it. Now, I just say you don't have to tie it. Really, if you hold them, just take them in your hand, hold them, that's good. But you have the Torah says to bind them. So we actually bind it with the leaves of the lulav. We take a leaf from the side of the lulav. I try to get extra ones that are not kosher for that reason. You split it in half. I cut the end over here, but I didn't do it now. You fold it, and there's no way it's going to work. It's way too hard. It's cracked. It's not going to work. But you basically fold. Yeah, see, it's not on a softer branch. It's a little more subtle. You fold it, and you make a ring like this. And we use the rings of the actual leaves of the lulav to hold the lulav together. Okay.
Not the rubber band.
Not a rubber band, but if you put a rubber band, it would be kosher. But it's not pretty. And some people actually have a custom like so. You have to be careful though. You can't have anything separating between the lulav and the esrog. So the lulav, and the hadasim and the araves. There cannot be anything in between them. They need to all be held together. So, but if a rubber band holding all 3 together, that's got it? Clear? Yeah, yes. Okay, now let's talk about the bottom of the species should all be on the same level. So when you put them together, you have the hadassim, the rabbis, or whatever, all equal, more or less, right, on the bottom, they're all together. This could be a little bit longer, because I just should point out, the bottom of the lulav is not this. The bottom of the lulav is over here where the leaves are coming out. Where the leaves start coming out from, that's considered the bottom. You see where it's coming out? That's the bottom of the lulav by Jewish law. This part below it it's extra. So it's over here, and so you put them basically, that's where everything starts, and they're all same in the bottom. And our custom, which he writes over here, is always do 3 knots. So there's only 1 handbreadth of lulav that's not tied. Is a problem with tying a knot on Shabbos or on Yom Tov, not on Shabbos, on Yom Tov. You can't tie knots on the Chag. It's one of the 39 malachas. So you have to make the knots before the holiday. So on the morning of the Chag, you can't start making your little Esrog. Well, you have to do it before the holiday starts, which is very difficult. You're so busy, they're setting the sukkah up, with everything, getting ready for the meal, getting the schachan, and you got to spend time. Then already making a little bit of Esrog. If you didn't, so then you can make a loose, you can put them together, but you can't make a thing, you can hold them together, or you can make a loose knot, but you can't make a real knot that ties it, etc. You could just put them together. I guess you could use a rubber band, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just not so, a rubber band is just not so pretty, it's not so muhuddar, it's not so, but I've never seen one with a rubber band, but I don't see why it shouldn't be kosher to do a rubber band. It should be kosher. Should be kosher. You could do that. Or you could do a loose. You know what I'm saying? You can make the lead, whatever. Some say, he brings over here, if I'm not mistaken, that when you just wrap it around the way we do it, though, it's not considered a knot. The way we make it, if he says it over here, I read this, you can't do a double knot. If there's a band that should be removed, whatever, a bow may be, here, alternatively, look at the end of halacha 8. Alternatively, one may wind a palm leaf, that's this, around the species, and tuck the end of the leaf into the coils that have been made previously, as is customarily done. So the way that we do it is actually allowed, even though we don't do it on the Chag. So I don't know why, actually, because here it says you could do that on the Chag, and the way we do it, we make sure to prepare before. Yeah, no, but you still, I've always been taught my whole life that you can't do it on the holiday, you got to do it before. So that's what we've always done, even though he brings over here, I remember reading this, like, that the way we do it, it's not really a knot. You're not tying something. You're just folding the leaf into the leaf and then turning it back. Okay. Now, there's a difference in halacha about the lulav and the esrog on the Chag versus Chol HaMoed. Now, I'm going to keep it simple. Because really, there's a difference between the first day of the Chag and the second day of the Chag. Because in the Torah, what does it say? Ulekachtam lachem b'yom harishon. You should take it for yourself on the first day. Lulav and esrog. Which means that biblically, the mitzvah of Lulav and Esrog is on the first day. The rabbis decided it should be all 7 days, because that's what they did it in times in Jerusalem, etc. So we do it all the days of the Chag. But biblically, it's only the first day. So there's certain leniencies that wouldn't be kosher, ideally on the first day, but in Chol HaMoed, it's already only rabbinic, so, okay, since you used it, the little crack, okay, it's kosher now. Like if the little leaf is splitting, like or the haravis are dying, it wouldn't be good for the first, it would be good for the rest of the holiday. The second day of the Sukkot, in many ways, is like the first day. In America, I'm talking about in America. The second day of the Chag, we're pretending like maybe it's the first day. So even though it's not really the first day, but we pretend like it is, so therefore the stringencies of the first day would apply on the second day, unless you need it to be lenient, then there's a little more gray area there. But to keep it simple, the Chag were more strict, and Chol HaMoed, already there's more room to be lenient if needed, and that's what happens, you get a good lulav, and then after a few days, the willows are dying, etc. Okay. Now, the Esrog. We missed the Esrog here. I missed the Esrog, but it's fine. Let's talk about the Esrog. What makes a kosher Esrog? Now, I don't have an Esrog here to show you. I actually buried them all. Just today I took stuff to the cemetery, but months ago, because the Esrogim don't stay good either. They shrivel up. They get really, if you know how to preserve them right, you can keep them. My grandfather, Olav Shalom, had a box of brown, shriveled little Esrogim. I don't know. People like dry roses, right? Not smoking. You hang it upside down. Yeah, but they keep it, like my mother was they keep the rose upside down and dries out, and there's a technique to it. But otherwise, if you just put them into a Ziploc bag, whatever, and then you sit the whole bag. So someone actually wanted a Esrogim from me. They want to make jam or whatever. They didn't doing it, and they sat in my office for 3-4 months, whatever. And then one of them got spoiled and moldy and gooey. Yeah, one did. Most of them became brown. They hardened. But one of the big ones, and that's it. Once that happened, the whole bag was stunk. But you can't throw them out. You can double wrap them, whatever, but you made a blessing on them. So Lulav and Esrog, why do I still have these here? Not because I'm a hoarder and I don't want to throw them out, but you can't throw them out because they were used for a mitzvah, they're used for a blessing. So therefore, they have to be treated with respect, and they're kept. There's actually a custom that we use them as firewood for the burning of the chametz. People make a mistake. People say, well, you burn them with the chametz. God forbid. We're not burning the lulav and esrog. You can burn the lulav. It's holy. You can't burn it. You're using it for the mitzvah of burning chametz by using this as the firewood to make the fire to burn the chametz. Understand the difference? People, you don't understand the difference? People say, I burn the lulav with the chametz. It implies that I'm making a fire to burn my negative chametz, and I'm burning my leftover lulav. I'm burning it. I'm destroying it. You're not allowed to burn the lulav. You're not allowed to burn it. You're using the lulav for the mitzvah of burning chametz as firewood. You're using this for a mitzvah.
Okay, that's worse.
Understand the difference? Oh.
They're doing it right. They're using the lulav to make the fire and then adding the chametz.
Yeah.
But if he says it wrong, it's still, he's doing
Correct.
it right.
The idea is to burn I'm just clarifying, there's a big misconception people don't realize, because someone once said, it's important to understand, we don't burn the lulav. We're using the lulav as firewood. It's words, but it makes a big difference.
Do you do that?
If I remember. The problem is, on Erev Pesach, the last thing you're thinking about is sukkahs. Trust me, there's like 1,000,001 things to think about before you think about sukkahs.
So would you do
They're still sitting here. They could be buried in the ground, like Seamus. You could also double wrap them, like in a box. And I've done this when I had a pile with the construction that was sitting. So the custom is people put them on top of the Aron Kodesh. The Lulav. The holy Ravis. So the custom generally is, what do you do with them? You leave them in the shul, you put them on top of the ark, and they stay there.
Does?
They're still here. I have a whole box. This whole box is sitting from last year. They got put on top, and I just collected them and put them into a box, and they sat there. Now, what you could do is, theoretically, you can double wrap it, so you can like put it in the box with a dark, like black garbage bag, and then another black garbage bag, where you can't see and then put it down into garbage, like into recycling or into a landfill, or something like that, where it's not going to be with garbage, but where it can be disposed of in a more dignified. Yes, burying is ideal. Burying is ideal. Okay. No, fuck it, you don't burn the lulav. You can't in the middle of the week. If now I want to go burn this, you can't burn it. Chametz, you're using it for a mitzvah. So maybe use it for like boom, or we missed that opportunity too. Okay. Now the Esrog, which is the most beautiful of the four. So I wish I had one to show you. You've all seen the Esrog before, so you can kind of visualize it. Has to be yellow. Doesn't have to be yellow. Yellow makes it more beautiful, but if it's green, it's fine as long as it's not like a dark green. It has to be like already ripening. There's a pitum. Let's start with the top. The pitum. The pitum is not to be confused with the aikits. The aikits is the stem, the bottom. And I've seen people holding the esrog upside down. Upside down. And that's not kosher. If you hold, the mitzvah is to make the blessing on all four species the way that they grew. Which means that if you put this willow branch, which grow this way, and you can tell, it's pretty easy because here you can see where it's cut, and here it's not cut because it's not allowed to cut the top. If I were to put into the lulav this way, it's not kosher. It has to be derech gidule the way it grew. All of them. The lulav too. If someone holds a lulav like this upside down, it's not kosher. You haven't done the mitzvah. You have to hold it the right way.
Does it make it not kosher? Or
No, it's kosher the moment, but you haven't fulfilled the mitzvah properly.
Okay.
Meaning, just like if you shook the lulav nesrog with one willow instead of two, you haven't done the mitzvah because you don't have two willows, right? So if you're holding the esrog upside down, you haven't done the mitzvah properly because that's not the way that it grew, and the mitzvah is to take them the way that they grew. Okay. This is actually, by the way, the reason why the Ashkenazi custom is when they make the brach, we know in general as a rule, that you make a blessing before you do a mitzvah. In general, whenever you do a mitzvah, you make the blessing before the mitzvah, right? That's always. Now, problem is, when you take the lulav and esrog, when do you do the mitzvah? The mitzvah is to shake it, to hold it. The moment you take all four species in your hand, you already did the mitzvah before you made a blessing. And you can't make a blessing before you pick it up because there'll be an interruption. You should make a blessing on what you're holding. It's like the talis, we hold the talis in our hand, make the blessing, then we put it on. Right? The matzah, we hold the matzah in our hand, we make the blessing, then we eat it. But the esrog, the lulav, the moment you pick them all up, you already did the mitzvah. You already took the netilas lulav means the taking of the lulav. You already did it the moment you picked it up. So what is the Ashkenazi custom? They pick up the esrog upside down. And they make the blessing with the esrog upside down. Because they're holding it in their hand, but they haven't yet fulfilled the mitzvah because the esrog is upside down. And then after they make the blessing, then they turn the right side up, and then they put it together in a shake.
So it's
Chabad does not do that. We don't want to turn it upside down. It's not respectful to the esrog to turn it upside down. So we make the blessing only holding 3 of the 4 species. We don't hold the esrog when we make the blessing on the lulav.
where do you put it?
It's on the table in front of you. We don't hold it in our hand for that reason. Because the moment that you're holding it in your hand, you've now fulfilled the mitzvah already. So you're making a blessing after you've already done it. The shaking, this direction, that's already the hiddur. But ideally, the moment you took it and you gave it even the slightest shekel, you've done the mitzvah of taking the lulav. So that's why we don't hold it at all. The first day, we make the blessing on the lulav with just the lulav, with no esrog. Then the shachiyanu, we hold the esrog as well, but we hold them apart. We don't put them together, because as long as they're apart, again, you haven't yet done the mitzvah. And the moment you put them together, that's when you have all 4 species and you fulfill the mitzvah. Got it? Okay. So how do you know which is the top, which is the bottom?
Pitta.
The pittam, okay, but how do you know what's the pittam and what's the aikitz? Yeah, the stem. So, look. So the stem is going to be much wider than the pittam. The pittam is going to look like a crown. A good pittam will look like a crown. It should be like a little like thin and then kind of comes out, almost like a cinnamon, like a clove, like like you make a salmon cloves. It will kind of look a little bit like the clove. It's like a little piece and crown on top. It's going to be much more small, more delicate. The aikitz, the stem, is going to be cut. It's a stem. That's where it grew from the tree. It's cut from the tree. It's cut off over there. It's going to be much wider, and it's going to be indented into the esrog. One of the signs of a kosher esrog versus a grafted esrog is that there will actually be almost so imagine this is the esrog. The aikitz doesn't just come out of the bottom. It goes in. It goes in, as opposed to the pittam that's sitting on top of the esrog, like a crown sitting on top of the esrog. The aikitz, the stem, is a little bit indented into the bottom of the esrog. Yeah.
Okay, so if you they're one stem and they kind of hang down, so it would be basically what.
Say it again. What's this thing? Say again.
So I'm thinking of a lemon.
Yeah.
If you have a lemon, the lemon, let's say this is the tree, and this is the branch, and then the lemon.
Okay, it hangs downwards and it grows. Okay, excellent question. The marginal question is when the esrog should be hanging down, so the top of it would be the stem. So it doesn't actually really grow that way. They kind of come out of the tree a little bit. It's not like a wide, not a wide thing. Either way, the fact is, I hear you saying, I'm trying to visualize an esrog tree. I've seen esrog trees. I'm trying to visualize it. You can Google picture esrog, but regardless, the pittam is the crown of it. So that's in a tree, a lot. Esrog. No, so they don't grow upward. They don't grow upwards. They don't grow upwards. I don't want to go off. It's a good. Some of them go really big and they hang low. They probably do hang downwards. Yes, they probably do hang downwards, especially the bigger ones. They're getting heavy. Yeah. Yeah, they're upside down. But it's still the bottom. Regardless, its source of life, it could be maybe when it starts growing. It starts growing like a little thing coming out of the branch, and then it gets heavier. the pitum is considered the top of it, and the oikis is the bottom. Now,
The orchid is
no, the oikis is no problem. That's a stem.
right.
The pitum falls. The pitum. The oikis is very strong. The oikis is not breaking. That's where it grew from the tree. It's gonna be that's like a branch almost. That's not gonna fall. That's not gonna break out. What's delicate is the pitum on top. The pitum on top is a small little piece. Small little ends on the very, very top. So it's sitting like, it's very vulnerable. It's not protected. If that comes out, then it's not kosher. And that's why you have to be super careful with the esrog that your pitum doesn't come out. Because if it comes out, finito. That's the Hebrew word for it. I don't know what if it comes out, it's not good. Now, some esrogim don't grow with a pitum. Calabrian esrogs, Italian, the Calabria is a place in Italy, does not grow with a pitum. So if it grew with a pitum, and the pitum, well, they all grow with a pitum, it falls out naturally while it's on the tree, then it's kosher. If it fell out after it was separate from the tree, then it's not kosher anymore. Now, there's a whole way of knowing. I am convinced that I know someone that was selling. Someone gave me whatever I was in the store with a pitum that fell out afterwards. You can tell if it's scabbed. How do you tell if it's indented? It came out while still the tree was still growing. Meaning, if the esrog was still growing, let's see how to describe this properly. If the esrog continued to grow after the pitum came out, it will almost look like it's scabbed. So there'll be on the top like a little scab, kind of, and almost the esrog will continue to almost grow like over it, around it. As opposed to if it broke afterwards, it'll be like a smooth cut where it broke up, and you'll see almost like a little bit of a green, or if it dried out, like white, but it won't have like scabbed. You have to know how to tell the difference, and it's a problem. Well, anyway. What? Yes, just a little bit. Yes. Yeah, that's the way it will be. Now, by the way, the Chabad custom is to use Calabria esrog, Italian esrogs. That's what the Rebbeim used. But there's a medrash that Moshe Rabbeinu, when God showed him what is an esrog, because in the Torah it doesn't say esrog. What does the Torah say? A beautiful fruit. What's a beautiful fruit? So God told Moshe, he took him in the clouds, the medrash says. He took him to Calabria, to Italy, and there he showed him the esrogim of Italy growing. Showed him this is the beautiful fruit. That is a medrash, not a Chabad thing, but many people are careful to use those kind of esrogim. In sometime in the 70s, I don't remember the exact year, I heard the Rebbe, they were trying to build up in Israel, people should buy Israeli esrogim and build up as an industry, support Israel. So the Rebbe gave his esrog that he had used on Sukkot to farmers in Kfar Chabad, to plant in Kfar Chabad, to now, like that's the Rebbe's esrog that he used. So now people buy Calabrian esrogim from the Rebbe's esrog that are grown in Kfar Chabad in Israel. Stand time. And so a lot of these do grow with a pitum. What? Yeah. And they have a pitum. So today you can have Israeli. So it's like complicated. You can have Israeli. People take stuff from Morocco. They call it Israeli. They have ones from Israel. They call it Calabrian. And the same. It becomes like a whole. Yeah, you can use it, of course. Calabrian is Calabrian, but Moroccan esrogim are good quality. There's nothing. Now, a few more things about what makes a kosher lulav. A kosher esrog, what makes it beautiful. Because again, beauty is also in the eyes of the beholder, but there's certain rules. So ideally, it should be a symmetrical esrog. The pitum should be in the center. A lot of times you're going to have it lopsided. It's kind of coming crooked, or it's like it growing out of the side. So again, imagine this is your esrog. Imagine this is not really good because it's not round on the top. I don't want to cup upside down because there's still some liquid in there. But it's like kind of not coming out of the middle. It's like a little like, you know what I'm talking about. Again, you've all seen esrogim. So it's a little lopsided. It's kosher, but it's not so beautiful. You want it to be like a tower. It's a migdal, a tower that grows up in the middle.
Now, you see a whole herd, right?
Why?
Because it wouldn't be as beautiful.
Heifers?
They're red. They're red.
Okay. Next is you want it to be clean, not to have spots. Now the spots don't make it not kosher. Even if the esrog is full of spots, it's still kosher, 100% kosher, but it's not beautiful. It must be beautiful. So the cleaner it is, the more beautiful and the more expensive it is. And if you go to where they sell like Esrog, you see people sitting there like this, with the glasses with magnifying glasses under the light, and they're looking to find a spotless Esrog. Spotless. Now, you can get this hard, and those would be like $200-300 to get something that's really clean and really nice. Maybe even more, $400. But you can, if you want to like, whatever, you focus more on the top part. So the top part of the esrog is more important in cleanliness than the bottom. Obviously, we want the whole thing to be clean. But the top is what you see. So the top part, let's say I'm looking downwards. Here's the pitum in the middle. The top is the most important because that's the visual. And then as it goes down, obviously you want the whole thing to be clean, but you focus most on the top. In addition, the Chabad style, the Calabrian, is you want the top to be big. It's like almost like a tower, like a big oval, and almost like it's narrower. You don't want to be like a flimsy little thing, but again, it's kosher. You want it to have ridges. It should not be too smooth. One of the signs of a grafted esrog, and you have to get an esrog from a kosher source. If it's grafted, it's not kosher. It has to be from a natural, you're not allowed to graft it. So if it's too smooth, like a lemon, it's not kosher. It has to have ridges on it. And again, the ridges add to the beauty. You want the ridges in a beautiful esrog, in a more expensive esrog. The ridges will kind of be like in a line, like proportionate and like equal. You're not like big one. Suddenly you have an esrog, like a big ridge, like a little hunchback on this side or a little thing coming on this side. You want them to be equally ridged on all sides, etc. There's the idea of having a gartel in the middle, which kind of like a little bit like a ridge in the middle that kind of separates the top half from the bottom half. These are details that make it more beautiful. It's kosher without it. But what makes it not kosher is if any little bit of the esrog is missing. So if there's a hole, like a needle that went into the esrog, and so there's a hole in the esrog, but none of the esrog is missing, it's still kosher. But if someone took the nail and scraped out even a little bit, even less than the size of a coin, or it fell and got nicked, if you dropped it and now it got dented, so it depends. If enough of the peel is missing that you can even see the white below the peel and the rind, then it's 100% not kosher. If just from the peel is missing, but enough that if it's less than the size of a coin, so b'di'evet it might be kosher. Again, it's not beautiful. For the first day, maybe not, depending how much. But as long as the actual esrog itself is complete, and you don't see beneath the peel, then it could be okay. And that's again if it's small. If it's bigger than the size of a coin, it's just a smaller little coin, then for sure. Even if it's just superficial, but the size of a coin, then it's not kosher anymore either. A small coin. This is a small coin, like a dime. It's the size of a dime. But I'm talking about superficial. Yeah, but if it's deep, even a little bit, even a nail, it's okay. Now another thing. Let's say a little piece is missing, but because that it got discolored. So sometimes if you pick a little bit of a piece out of an apple, then what happens? It's brown. Even if it was kosher because it didn't penetrate into the actual fruit of the esrog. And it was small, it wasn't the size of a coin. But now it got browned and discolored. So you look at it, you see a different color, then it's invalid. Okay? Okay? Blisters are also a problem, which is where like something growing on top of it, external growth, the chazazis. Let's not get too much into the details. Again, you want the ideal to be beautiful color. If it's green, it's okay. It's not as pretty, but what? Yeah, but some people, so different people have different things they care about when it comes to the beauty of an esrog. Some people they're all about the spot. It has to be spotless, and they'll take a more green esrog, even though because the more green, the more has been on the tree for a shorter time. So it has less spots maybe, but it doesn't have that beautiful color. Some people say, no, I want to have the shine. Some is about the look, the size of it. the symmetry of it. So there's many different things to consider. So this one might be spotless, but it doesn't have a nice color, or the shape is not, so the pitum is crooked. It's not, it's not centered. Color. To me, the visual, when you hold it from a distance, to me is very important. For me, my first thing is, how does it look? That's also like, is it symmetrical? Is the pitum centered? Is there an equal growth on all sides of the esrog when you turn it? The spots, obviously you don't have no spots. That will bother me a little bit less, especially if it's on the top. And to me, a spot on the bottom bothers me less than the spot on the top. And I'll tell you, my brother-in-law is different. He has a different, but that's to me, yeah. So there were.
Would you?
So I'll repeat your question, which was, would you, if you're budgeting $1,000 for the holiday of Sukkot, and if you spend 200 on the Lulav or 300 on the Lulav Esrog, then you take less for your holiday meal, which is all part of the celebration of the mitzvah. How do you choose what's more important and less important? It's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, because I see people wanting to have
Right. And so you have to know why you spend the money. Are you doing it because you want to honor God and have a beautiful mitzvah, or you want to do it to show off, first of all? And if you're doing it for the beautiful mitzvah, though, so if that's your way of honoring God, God's going to get honored because you're eating fancier, you're having, steak and meat instead of having chicken, whatever. Like, you're honoring God in the way you're honoring God. And there's many stories and many people that risked a lot and sacrificed a lot, saving up to be able to have a lulav and esrog. Today, it's pretty easy to get it. And today, $200 is not so much. You remember in Russia, stories to get the 4 species was very difficult. Esrogim don't grow in Russia. Yeah, stories of... Correct. Because to get a kosher lulav and esrog in Eastern Europe was extremely difficult. The Rebbe once traveled on a train. He disappeared for a few days. He was in France by the war. There were no esrogim he was in Vichy, France. He crossed the border during the war to go get an esrog. He came back with an esrog. He risked his life. But it was very difficult. And you would have entire communities that would get, a few, they would send in esrogim, like, whatever you got. So to get a good esrog was thousands of rubles. It was very, very expensive. And people would save up money all year for a little beautiful little esrog. Yeah, correct. You had communities where they had one for the entire community. So the rabbi would they own it, and then everyone would line up and use it. And the Rebbe actually had that custom where people would come and make a blessing on his lulav and esrog, and that's what came from Russia also, because again, there was very hard to get. They don't willows. You don't have willows. You don't have all these things. Date palms. You don't have these things growing in Eastern Europe. It's very hard to get these. Okay. We've done already over an hour, which is fine. We finished chapter 136. I didn't think we would get to 137, which is about the details of how you shake it and the order by halal and all that, which is fine. When we go through the laws of Sukkot, God willing, in a few weeks from now, we'll do 137, and then be much closer to the holiday. You'll remember the details, what to do it, how to shake it, etc., God willing. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime and share on the chat. This is my personal notes. Like I said, this is very, very detailed.